Jeff Stulberg hanging out with us. StulbergLaw.com is his website, and we're on Facebook Live. You can go to the KZOZ page. You can watch this whole thing go down live. Good to see you again, Jeff.
Thanks. I'm glad I wore a suit and tie this morning.
Yeah, you look sharp as always.
Now, you know this, Jeff, that Jeremy and I are Seahawks fans, one of our beloved Seattle Seahawks. Hopefully, he's not a Seattle Seahawk too much longer, as it seems like these kinds of stories surround Jeremy Lane wherever he goes. He was out partying with some friends, and he says he got a alert from his security system at his house, so he had to rush home and check it out. In the attempt to get home in a hurry, he was speeding, and then he was pulled over, subsequently given a breathalyzer test, and the breathalyzer read within the legal limits. I think it was a .039. It was in that range.
So he was about half the legal limit on alcohol.
Yeah. But then he tells the officers, I'm just more high than anything. Because I guess he's thinking, he lives in Washington. He's thinking, okay, I'm cool.
I'm in the pot state.
Yeah, I'm in the pot state. I just blew a .039. I can be honest and forthcoming because they're going to let me go because I blew under. Well, then they arrest him for driving under the influence.
Right. Well, he implicated himself and essentially admitted that he was an impaired driver, which that's really what DUI is. It's driving while impaired. And so in every state, there's multiple statutes covering different combinations. For example, in California, Vehicle Code Section 23152A says that it's unlawful to drive under the influence of alcohol or any drug or a combination of the two.
In fact, CHP has been driving the point home recently with the billboards on the 101 or wherever you're traveling, and the billboards, there's like, hey, by the way, you can get a DUI for taking pills as well, right?
Well, the notion is that small amounts of multiple substances have a synergistic effect, which is greater than the sum of any one of them or any two of them. So that a little bit of marijuana that might not impair somebody's ability to drive where they could pass all the field sobriety tests, when combined with a small amount of alcohol, might impair that person substantially. Or a small amount of alcohol, for example, with some NyQuil nighttime cold medicine, could affect somebody really badly. And so that's why the statutes are constructed in different ways. And this is worth talking about because there was just an article in the Tribune this morning that there's going to be special enforcement for DUI this weekend and I guess the following weekend here in San Luis Obispo with checkpoints and everything else. They're extending it beyond the holidays.
I wonder if part of that extension has anything to do with the marijuana dynamic of it being totally legal for you to use now in California.
Yeah, it probably does, because I think people are under the misapprehension that because it's legal that they can even smoke in a car. And as a matter of fact, smoking marijuana in a motor vehicle is no different than having an open container of alcohol in a motor vehicle, really, for purposes of what the consequences are going to be and how the police are going to treat it.
Well, I remember I had friends that would try to lock themselves in either a small room or a vehicle and smoke Jay's
hot box, right?
Yeah, do the hot box.
Hot box that rocks.
So I would think it would be super illegal to do it inside the car because it could affect those that are around you as well. Like if I'm the passenger in a car and I'm just sitting there toking away, then the driver could get a contact eye.
Right. I mean, it's actually, in a sense, it's even more problematic because if the passenger is drinking and the driver isn't getting secondhand alcohol.
Yeah.
But it's going to be enforced significantly. Also, in the case of the Seattle Seahawks player, his driving was pretty erratic. The report actually said that he was driving 80 in a 65 mile per hour zone, passing cars, and that he had his hazard lights on. So he certainly brought attention to himself.
Jeremy's response to that is "Hold my beer." I can show you one up. Your name's Jeremy. My name's Jeremy. Show me the way to the Mojave.
Yeah. We do 80 and a 65 on the 101 here all the time. I guess the difference is you were not drinking and we don't have our hazards on.
The hazards.
Drawing more attention to yourself. Like, do you ever get to a point where somebody comes in? Okay, let's say he's your client, right? Jeremy Lane walks in. Says, it says here that you were driving down the freeway 80 miles an hour with your hazards on, but you said you weren't drunk. Why would you ask him, why would you have your hazards on? I would have to know.
Maybe he was.
Well, he said he was in a hurry to go check on that security breach at his house.
Exactly. He wouldn't have been pulled over if he would have been driving normally.
Right.
He would have been driving the speed limit.
I would just have to know
and
why
wouldn't have had his hazard lights on. Hadn't been passing cars. There wouldn't have been probable cause for the stop, and no officer would have thought, he's an impaired driver.
Or my question would be, you're worth $7 million. Why didn't you take a $30 Uber ride home to check on your security system?
Stulberg is in studio. Jeffrey Stulberg, 544-7693. His phone number, 544-7693. You can also get him at stulberglaw.com. Jeff, somebody wrote in a question they had for Jeff?
Yeah, last week, actually. Richard texted in as you were getting ready to leave. And we know a lot of your expertise is in the area of elder abuse, and maybe this falls into that. I don't know. Richard writes in, he says, my younger brother coerced our 85-year-old mother into signing over her home to him while she continues to make the payments. She's extremely upset and would like to know if there's anything she can do to get the title back in her name.
The answer is yes. It sounds, if the younger brother is correct or the brother is correct, it's financial abuse of an elder person. And so if she's competent, she could file suit on the grounds of elder abuse and financial abuse, undue influence, and have that set aside. As long as he hasn't further encumbered the property, she'd probably have to deal with that if he has. If she's not competent, if she's got Alzheimer's or dementia, then she and the other son could work together to have a conservatorship set up, and the conservator could pursue that action on her behalf.
Is this something that you see quite a bit? And I mean, I think many people, there's not many people I've met that have not had a situation in their family where somebody is nearing the end of their life, and you've got people kind of angling in to get their piece of the pie. Like when Prince died. Remember when Prince died, there was like 30 people that came out. They're like, oh yeah, I'm Prince's son. I'm Prince's daughter. Sure. It's like, wait a minute, hold on a second. Because they all found out that he didn't have a will. And, is this something that you run across quite common? Is Richard's case seem like a common case in your area of work?
Well, a lot of undue influence situations involve family members, unfortunately. And it's also problematic when somebody makes inter vivos transfers, in other words, while they're alive, transfers of property to the detriment of other heirs that ultimately may be intended to be shared with equally. So in this particular case, it sounds like, the brother who got the mother to sign the house over essentially is trying to gain control of her property before she passed. And it's probably easier for her to institute that action while she's alive to have it set aside than simply to leave it to whoever is managing her estate when she's gone to unwind it.
So, I mean, this is something you deal with on a regular basis. You have probably cases going right now with elder abuse or in some way, shape, or form. I know you've dealt with different, care facilities in lawsuits before.
Sure. Well, one of the cases I have right now is where a caregiver was actually taking things from the person that they were caring for, and they were pawning them and selling them in other places.
God.
A lot of times there's a crossover between tort law and estate and probate or trust law. And so a lot of times these things end up, especially if the person passes away, they end up getting resolved in either the probate court as a probate or trust litigation matter.
Because in Richard's case, we can all see with the writing on the wall.
Right.
The mother's 85. This guy's thinking, okay, well, I'm going to beat everybody to the punch on this one. And if I can and just wait it out, then the house becomes mine.
Right. Well, the other way that somehow can work itself out, for example, let's say you have a relative who's living in with the elderly person, and they're sort of living off of that person's income to their benefit beyond simply helping them out. What usually happens is there's some even up of the estate after that person dies, assuming that the person has other assets like a bank account or investments that are equal to the interest in the house. In this case, it's sort of sounds like the house is the big asset, and one person is trying to essentially make off with it before it becomes a probated matter.
So we have a couple of people that want to ask you questions. I don't know what your time is like today. What time do you have
I've
to
got a few minutes. I've got to be in court pretty soon.
Pat's on the line. He had a question for you. It's Pat, right?
Yeah, hi, guys.
Hey, buddy. I'll just throw it out there real quick because Jeff does have to get to court, but he wanted to try to take your question.
Okay, great. So we see a lot of videos of police using deadly force, and a lot of times I put myself in the same position as a citizen. If I were in the same position and I used deadly force, it would not be so quickly justified. I'd be charged, go to court. Is there a difference in the threshold of self-defense between police officers and citizens?
That's a question that isn't going to be answered in a 60-second radio response. Police officers are allowed to use deadly force under certain circumstances under color of authority pursuant to specific criteria that are set out. Private citizens are almost never entitled to use deadly force unless in imminent threat of death or great bodily injury, generally in their own home.
And you have to prove that. I mean,
and you have the burden of proving that.
Yeah.
Even if a police officer shoots somebody, they still have hearings about it, and there's a shooting investigation, but it's a different process. But ultimately, the district attorney's office will review any police-involved shooting just as it would review any civilian-involved shooting.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. And you hear about that all the time. If there's a shooting, a police officer will be placed on
administrative
leave and until they do the investigation. And then once they do the investigation, if everything's legit, he comes back to work. Otherwise, I mean, we've heard stories in the news of police officers going on trial for this. I mean, national news just a few years ago in different parts of the country.
I mean, some parts of the country, not California, have stand your ground statutes, which if you're confronted on the street by somebody, you can stand your ground, and if they move towards you, you might be justified in that state under the way they interpret the law to pull out a gun and shoot them. I think California would view that differently than Texas would.
Yeah, Texas and California are probably on the opposite ends of that spectrum for
sure.
Remember George Zimmerman and Trayvon Martin?
Sure. I mean, some states allow you to openly carry weapons and sidearms. So.
Not here in California, though.
Not unless you have a very specific permit and you've been carefully vetted.
Yeah. Good to see you, man. Have good luck in court today.
Thanks. See you next week.
When you run across the egg roll in a bowl recipe, you run across another thing as...
No, the egg roll in a bowl I told you came from Tip Hero.
Oh, sorry.
This is something else that I saw.
But you can get a lot of insight about women by reading magazines like Women's Health or Cosmopolitan.
So here's the deal. Let me tell you how I see. My wife works at a dental office, all right, and they have all these magazines,
stacks on stacks on
You've
stacks.
probably seen them because you go to this dentist.
Stacks on stacks on stacks.
Yeah, on that table, they got all the they got stuff for guys. They got the outdoor magazine. They got.
I only read the golf one.
The Golf Digest.
It's the only time I read Golf Digest is twice a year when I go to the dentist.
And they also have Women's Health magazine, and they've talked to all these women, and this is what they think we do when they're not around. Number 10, miss them. All right, and so not always. I heard you talking to your wife earlier about a holiday weekend coming up. That sounds like you're going to be by yourself, and then are you going to enjoy that freedom?
Yeah, my son might stay home with me that weekend, and it might be like a ladies' weekend, mother-daughter type weekend.
Oh, I see.
And whatever. I mean,
but you'll be down too.
I always use the opportunity to try to get stuff done that I can't get done when the kids are around. So that the kid being around is going to throw a wrench in my plans if that's the case. But we'll see.
Sing out loud. I don't really do that unless I'm in the car. I do that around her. So
I do that all the time around the house when no
one's there.
Yeah, I'm always singing.
I've never heard you sing out loud except for karaoke.
You're never at my house when nobody else is.
Yeah, we should get one of these cameras in there.
Oh yeah, sure.
Keep tabs on you.
Sure. I mean, why not just make our whole lives the Truman Show?
They think we put on their makeup
and not get compensated for it.
They think we actually go in and put on their makeup. What are we? 10? Like I did this when I was a little kid around my mom, but come on, grown men don't put on makeup. Have you ever put on your wife's makeup?
No.
Thank you. Do you ever cry when you're alone?
Makeup is the most annoying thing in the world because I see people that put it on and how long it takes them to put it on, and that's like the last thing I want to try to do is try on makeup. Why would you try on makeup?
I don't know. I guess people are curious.
I don't.
We don't try on makeup, ladies.
That's not true. I watch a sad movie, I might cry.
Okay,
you know me as a person that does not cry, but for whatever reason, sad movies can make me cry, and I will only do it when I'm alone. So maybe if you layer that into it, then I might cry when nobody's around.
Creep on ex-girlfriends. I don't know what that means. I'm guessing maybe that means stalk 'em.
Facebook stalking, probably.
Yeah. Look up ex-girlfriends. No, I don't think so. Of course, I haven't had an ex-girlfriend in a long time. I couldn't even remember the last girl that I dated before.
You do that
wife.
at work. You do that here.
What are you talking about?
We do that here. We check out like people that you check out people that you used to hang out with in high school.
You mean junior high?
Yeah, junior
Jamie
high.
Plummer?
Jamie Plummer.
My first girlfriend.
Who's ugly now.
Yeah, she was really cute back then. At least I thought so.
Which is always the case whenever you check out people from high school. They're not what you remember. They're not their youthful selves.
I have to look in the mirror and go, hey, listen, ugly. Okay, talk to your mom.
Yeah, I do that.
I talk to my mom when my wife's not around.
Yeah.
Watch porn.
Yeah, I'll do that from time to time.
There's more than just watching porn happening there, ladies. Spend a lot of time on the toilet. What is... Why do we wait till you leave to go to the bathroom? That's crazy.
But you can go in there. You can go at your own leisure. Now, I will tell you, if I wake up in the middle of the night and like this morning, for example, I got up before everybody else and I came into work somewhat early, and I sat in the toilet for a long time because it was contemplating going back to sleep or coming in and getting some work done. So I sat there. Next thing you know, like 10 minutes had gone by, and I was like, okay, if I'm gonna do something, I'm either gonna go to sleep in the bedroom or I'm going to go into work and get some work done. So, granted, I did not have the house to myself. It was like having the house to myself. I probably spend extra time in the bathroom when I've got the house to myself. I think everybody does.
But you have one bathroom, so, I mean, that totally makes sense. I think most people have more than one bathroom in their house now, but you live in an older house.
Yeah, so
it's got one bathroom.
Whenever you're in the bathroom, when you live in a house that has one bathroom, whenever you're in the bathroom, you always feel this need that somebody else is going to need the bathroom at some point in time.
So you need to hurry up and get out.
So you need to,
so
quickly.
You can't just relax. I guess I understand that.
This is a policy that we instill throughout our family.
Finally, they got it right on number one, I think.
Yeah.
And that is get naked. Now, I don't walk around naked, but the first thing I do when I get home is I take off my pants, jeans, slacks, whatever I'm wearing, and I put on a pair of basketball shorts. But sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just walk around in my boxer and T-shirt.
I will walk.
I don't need to.
I will walk around naked, but I don't sit naked. I can't stand sitting on anything naked.
It feels weird.
I don't know what it is.
If it's leather, it feels awkward. If it's fabric, it feels awkward.
But it is freeing to be able to, when you get out of the shower, when nobody is home, take the towel and throw it in the hamper or hang it up or whatever you do with the towel.
I'm getting a visual that I don't need.
Throw it in the hamper and walk around and get some stuff done without getting dressed. It's nice. It's freeing. I can't make myself lunch naked any other time. I might as well go ahead and make myself lunch naked today.
So really, I think they got two on this list, and that is porn and getting naked. Those are the two things that we can guarantee that most men do when you are not around. We don't usually cry. We don't usually try on your makeup or sing out loud or creep on ex-girlfriends. I mean, we don't have to wait till you're gone to do that. I do it right in front of my wife. I'm like, she's sitting over there on her Facebook. She's probably looking at her ex-boyfriends. I'm over here looking at them.
Good morning. Jeff and Jeremy in the morning on 93.3 KZOZ.